If you add a zero, it's 120. So over the course of that 30 years, you're going to be paying 120% interest over the course of that loan. All right? So that's to scare everybody. All right? Now, when you do make your interest payments, you can see that when you make the interest payments, only a small portion goes to the principal. See how this is increasing. This is 300, this is 301 and some change, 303 and some change. So very little comes off the principal. In fact, after paying the principal, and they're, let's see, how many years do I have in here? After 2 years, you're only shaving off about $36 in interest, or excuse me, in principal. Is gained now on each monthly payment. So what you have to do is you have to accelerate that. You can't just have your interest, your amount of principal increasing by about $1.50 every single month. We want to accelerate that. That's what's so important. Now what makes a problem compound even more is most people refinance or sell their house every 5 to 10 years. So think about it. You just start carving away a little bit of that interest, and you're starting to put more and more principal on there, and then you refinance. You think you're doing yourself a favor because you went from 4 to 3.5 or from 5 to 4%. You've got to look at it as interest and how much is being paid off, all right, every time you make payments. Because at this rate, you will never pay that house off. And you're paying the biggest chunk of interest at the beginning, and then it narrows down. And you're never getting to that real accelerated part, which is at the end of the amortization. Okay? So again, you've got to think outside the box. You can't think of the same. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Okay, good. Thank you. Now, there's different types of loans. Okay? There's amortized, there's simple interest loans. So as an example of some amortized loans, you can have a personal loan, could be an amortized loan, a business loan, construction loan, car loan, student loans, first mortgage, second mortgage. Those would be your typical amortized loans, okay? Could be other types of loans, but amortized means that there's a duration, there's a term associated with that loan, and what they figured out is how much you pay every single month in interest so that by the end of that term, the balance will be zero, okay? But there's also things that are called simple interest loans, like personal lines of credit, credit cards, business lines of credit, home equity lines of credit, secured lines of credit. When you're thinking about these strategies, think about what Bob teaches all the time about business lines of credit and how that then could work in conjunction with these strategies, okay? Another difference between an amortized loan and a line of credit is that an amortized loan, it's in one direction. Once you make that payment, that money can't come back unless you refinance, or get a HELOC or something to pull it out. So that's important to know. Now, a line of credit, it's a two-direction street. You can put money in, you can take money out. You can put money in, you can take money out. That's really important when you go forward in your strategy to understand that. Because some people, and later on I'll talk a little bit about a software system that I adhere to and I use, and one of the primary reasons I do that is that if I put too much onto the mortgage, you think, well, how could there ever be too much? Well, all of a sudden, if I can't make my regular mortgage payment because all my extra cash and liquid and credit was gone onto my mortgage, now my regular mortgage payment comes up and I can't pay my mortgage, or I can't pay my car, or I can't pay something else. Now I'm getting penalties, I'm getting interest, and it's hurting my credit. So that's the risk. And what's the risk of the strategy? The risk of the strategy is you're accelerating it too much and you're putting too much there. Okay? I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then, of course, loans are amortized. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about credit cards first. Because number one, I'm going to show you how you can use that and combine with the mortgage. And number two, I'm going to show you how you can pay down your credit card balance quicker. I'll throw this out as a question. You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. But if you are right now paying off a credit card that has a balance, that you don't pay it off every single month. Does anybody have a credit card that they are carrying a balance of any type? Okay. Now this strategy will work with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, any general credit card. it won't necessarily work. It would be a difficult strategy to pull off. It's like a Macy's card or a Target, a department store card. Okay, not going to work. Okay, so let's think credit card for a minute, because everybody can relate to the credit cards, right? Because you use them every time, you use it every day. Let's say I'm going to use 24% interest, because number one, it's high, kind of a highest case scenario, plus the math is easy. The 24% is 2% per month, right? So let me ask you this. If you had a 24% interest credit card that you were carrying a balance with, if you had a 24% checking account or savings account with a debit card, would that help you pay it off? Right? That you could use the interest that you made on one side to pay off the debt that you have on the other side, right? Well, let me think. This is where you got to rethink. You actually do have a 24%. If you have a 24% debit credit card that you're carrying a balance, you do have a 24% checking account, and you don't even know it, because it's one and the same. And I'll explain how. Okay? If you had a high interest credit card, or excuse me, a high interest account, checking or savings, what would you do? Well, you'd put the money in as soon as possible, right? Because you would want it to earn as much interest, right? You'd leave it in there as long as possible, right? And would I have another one in there? Put as much money